The country's electoral body has been distributing ballot boxes and other electoral materials ahead of Saturday's runoff poll. The polls follow a delay caused by a court case of alleged electoral fraud, sparking tensions following an already fractious campaign. The West African nation's 3.1 million voters will choose between the APC candidate Samura Kamara and opposition challenger from the SLPP, Julius Maada Bio, a former junta leader, won the first round of polls by just 15,000 votes, but failed to attain the 55% of ballots needed to win outright. As campaigns close, both camps have been urging their supporters to remain calm after pockets of unrest were reported across the country.
It's been almost 4 weeks since Sierra Leone went to the polls. A slim winning margin, though, meant that campaigns would continue as the country would hold runoff elections. APC's Samura Kamara lost to SLPP's Julius Maada Bio, who garnered 43.3% of the vote. Ahead of Saturday's runoff election, both candidates were out on their final campaign stretch. The elections are meant to replace President Ernest Bai Koroma, who's finished his 2 5-year terms. Concern is whether replacing him will actually change life for the Sierra Leonean people.
Any government will come, the basic challenges: education, youth employment, medical. Then they look into the affairs of the feeding. Now this nation, the food affairs. Because now, when you check the market system, no price control, all things just up, you know, and everybody they suffer, they shout here and there.
It doesn't matter who wins the election. As a citizen of this country, we want to see a very good government. Regardless of the APC or the SLPP or the NGC, we want to see our people like the Sierra Leonean, move forward in life in terms of education, good roads, water resources and the like.
The winner will face pressure to revive a moribund economy that's been ravaged in recent years by low prices for its main export, iron ore, and the 2014 Ebola outbreak. Leslie Murungu, CGTN.
Let's get you the latest on the preparations as Sierra Leoneans brace for the Saturday vote. Our very own Susan Mungeli is on that beach. She joins me live from the capital, Freetown. Susan, is the electoral agency confident and ready to conduct a runoff?
Well, the Electoral Commission says as much, that it is ready to conduct the elections tomorrow. Now, earlier today, the National Electoral Commission said that it was all systems go. And remember, the reason why the poll was postponed to the 31st was to give it time to ensure that the ballot papers, all electoral material has been transported to the various polling centers. And it says that this has happened so far. Now, the National Electoral Commission is very keen to ensure that it follows through with some of the recommendations that were put forth when the High Court lifted the injunction on the election. And one of the things is it was recommended that it improves its capacity, because now the voting, the vote counting, all this has to be done manually. It has to be a manual process, and basically this means that more people, and it says that it has employed more staff. But also the other thing has been security. Security was a big issue in the other election and also in the election tomorrow, and we've seen a deployment of police officers, and also the military will be working hand in hand in a system that they call the MACP to ensure that there is security, but not just security for the country, but also to man the polling centers. Another issue was electoral fraud. So the police officers will be around the polling centers to ensure that this does not happen. Now, there's a lot of pressure on the National Electoral Commission because both candidates say that they will only accept the election results if it is free and fair. So there's a lot of pressure on the National Electoral Commission, but it says so far it's all systems go for tomorrow.
Well, Susan, the challenge with runoffs has been the turnout. What have they done this time around to ensure they get a good turnout?
Well, the stakes are really high for these elections, and everywhere you go, there's a lot of interest. When you go and find, when you walk around, you find groups of people, they're just talking about this election, and everyone really wants to participate. So the National Electoral Commission says that it is expecting a voter turnout. Last time it was about 84, so it expects more or less the same. And why it says that this will happen is because there's been a lot of voter sensitization. We've seen the Electoral Commission and also the parties using the media to encourage people out there to go out and vote. And also the party officials have been going out and distributing leaflets, teaching people how to go about the whole process. it is this voter sensitization that they are pegging on that will improve the voter turnout. But also at the same time, both candidates, both parties, the All People's Congress says that it will be providing free transport for its registered voters to go in the various parts of the country to ensure that these people vote. And also the opposition has said as much. So the voter turnout is expected to be much to be pretty much the same, if not higher, than it was on the March 7th.
All right, Susan Mungeli live for us in Freetown. Many thanks, Susan.